could you say this every time? This is the new world, you told me lightly. And how could you say this every time? This is the new world, you told me lightly. Oh, and how could it end, let it fall in my lifetime? I don't really like that. I don't really like that.
Welcome, everybody, to the video companion for the Classic Horrors Club podcast. This is episode, what episode is it, Richard? 72. Not 72 of the video, 72 of the audio. Anyway, we have taken a vacation. We are at Westworld. And Richard, tell us why we're at Westworld.
Well, it might have to do with the fact we're going to be checking out a couple of movies. We are going to be watching, I think, the first one, maybe a little more classic than the second, Westworld from 1973, and the sequel, Futureworld from 1976. And along the way, we will talk a little bit about Beyond Westworld, the 1980 CBS TV series, and the more modern day HBO series called Westworld. Lots of Batman and Star Trek references, and if you watch TV in this time period, 60s or 70s, I guarantee you will, watching these films, you will see a ton of people that you are familiar with. A lot of character actors and familiar faces along the way.
That was the worst transition ever, by the way. We're in Westworld. Why are we in Westworld? I should be fired for that performance. But I do want to remind everyone that this is just a companion. If you want to hear the entire episode, you can click below to go to the audio version of this podcast. Don't judge the podcast by the highlights that we choose to go here. I'm sure it's much better than you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, this is just kind of the teaser. Think of this as the teaser. This is what you can get. And if you enjoy what you watch or listen to here, listen to the podcast. We've been doing it for 5.5 years now. We are a Rondo Award nominated podcast. Wow. So if you just discovered us, welcome and join us, because we're on Facebook, we're in podcasts, we're on YouTube. We're taking over the world, because I think the world would be a much better place with more classic horror movies.
And we hardly ever advertise this, but if you're watching this, you are probably on or have access to our YouTube channel. And on that channel, you'll find trailers, you'll find little fun videos that Richard and I both have done. And you will find on Halloween a very special video that we're not going to tell you anything about, but we invite you to return then and help celebrate Halloween with us.
Yeah, we're getting to our favorite time of the year. You know, we do our countdown to Halloween, and we're bringing out, I just put out the first Halloween decorations today. Yeah, maybe it's a little too early, but you know what? Christmas trees have been in store since last month. This is a funny meme. I will share this. This is an exclusive to this video, so you won't get this on the podcast, but it was a funny meme I saw this week that said, you know what? There's no war on Christmas. Christmas has already taken over Thanksgiving, and the only thing keeping it away from Halloween is a line of skeletal warriors. So think of that, folks.
Right, well, let's get to it, Richard. Let's have a little break here. We'll watch some clips from Westworld and then come back and find out how we liked it.
I think we've got a podcast and a video just for you.
Oh.
I should have done it for you.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
For you, yeah.
And remember, nothing can go wrong.
MGM presents Westworld.
Your attention, please. We will soon be landing at Westworld, the ultimate resort.
We have you on grid 5, over.
It consists of 3 worlds of the past.
Locking in now.
Worlds where you can live out your every fantasy. There's Roman world, the lusty, decadent delights of imperial Pompeii.
Notify ground crews.
Medieval world, chivalry and combat in 13th century Europe. And Westworld, Lawless violence on the American frontier of 1880.
Bacon, cinnamon toast.
Each resort is maintained by reliable computer technology and peopled by lifelike robot men and women.
Let's stand by for resort activation. Ready on 6, on 5, on 4, on 3, on 2. Activate now.
Our robots are programmed to provide you with an unforgettable vacation.
Dinner at 7, breakfast at 6:30. Get lunch on your own. Don't look like much here, but we have everything.
You mean to tell me he's a robot?
What'll it be?
Vodka martini on the rocks with a twist of lemon. Very dry, please.
Just give him whiskey. He's new in town.
Many elements of the Delos resort are potentially dangerous. That's part of the appeal.
Go on.
You say something, boy.
Kill him.
Your move.
Our technology is designed to provide all this in complete safety. In Westworld, frustrations find release. Desire ends in satisfaction.
Let me handle it.
And all in a controlled environment.
That's not supposed to happen.
We know you'll enjoy your stay in Westworld,
Hold it.
the ultimate resort,
Let me do it this time.
where nothing can possibly go wrong.
I'm shot.
Go wrong.
Raw.
Go
Oh,
wrong.
my God.
Shut down. Shut down immediately.
Westworld from MGM, starring Yul Brynner, Richard Benjamin, and James Brolin. Westworld, the ultimate resort. Boy, do we have a vacation for you, for you, for you, for you.
Westworld was written and directed by Michael Crichton. It stars Yul Brynner, Richard Benjamin, James Brolin. So running time 88 minutes, released on November 21st, 1973 by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer MGM. Richard, what do you think of Westworld?
I love it. Westworld has been one of those go-to movies for me. A fun movie, perfect running time.
I love Westworld as well. I do want to say, though, that this time it was kind of dragging for me at the beginning. Now, once the action picks up, it's just nonstop, and that's what you remember, and that, carries the movie. The kind of little bit of slow part at the beginning is forgotten by the time that end comes, and it's just a terrific movie.
There's so many things in this movie, inspirational for other things later on. The gunslinger character, the unstoppable robot, supposedly Halloween, the character of Michael Myers, there was some inspiration, kind of the unstoppable force. I could see that to maybe a lesser degree. A much greater degree, though, and this is one that I have heard numerous times over the years, that the gunslinger was inspirational for the Terminator.
The rattlesnake scene, James Brolin bit by a rattlesnake, and I didn't know this till after the fact, but when I watched it this time, I realized, man, that thing is hanging on there a long time. I mean, he's flinging his arm and it's not flying off. It was a real snake. It was one that was not poisonous. I don't know what kind it was, but his arm was padded so that it could really bite, but it wouldn't hurt him. But it didn't attach directly on the pad, and his bottom fangs went actually into James Brolin's arm.
Oh, wow.
So that was like real of him trying to shake it and get it off his arm. It didn't do him any harm. I don't think it delayed production.
They actually used the same sets from Blazing Saddles. This was the town in Blazing Saddles.
It's an iconic 1970s science fiction movie. It's, I would say, pre-Star Wars in the first half of the 70s. We had movies like Rollerball, Stepford Wives, Omega Man, Silent Running, Coma, Capricorn One. It's a different type of sci-fi, right, than we had after Star Wars. So this is kind of a golden spot. Definitely a classic.
In 1972, Delos was open to the public. It consisted of 3 fantastic vacation resorts: Roman World, Medieval World, and Westworld. It was a computerized paradise where nothing could go wrong. But something did. Now, in 1976, Delos is about to reopen.
We have invested more than $1.5 billion to rebuild our equipment.
Its problems have been corrected.
We have replaced every circuit.
Its technology has been perfected.
The new Delos is not only the most fantastic resort in human history, it is also fail-safe.
And an incredible new world has been created. American International presents Future World, starring Peter Fonda, Blythe Danner, Arthur Hill, and Yul Brynner as the gunslinger.
Program the blast-off sequence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition.
Welcome to Future World, the ultimate vacation resort. Fully programmed for your pleasure, where for only $1,200 per day, you can experience anything you can imagine. And a few things you can't.
My night to your pawn.
Prepare the Martian ski sequence for 5 guests and return power to grid 3.
Future World, where every day is an exciting new adventure, where your fantasies become reality, where highly sophisticated technician, maintenance, and servant series robots work together to make your wildest dreams come true.
Take us both.
You can take risks, face danger, defy death, all in complete comfort and total safety. Safety, safety, safety.
You will never harm Delos.
They're duplicates.
You will do what Delos instructs you to do.
They're creating and programming duplicates of real people.
You will destroy your original.
I will destroy my original.
Peter Fonda, Blythe Danner, Arthur Hill, and Yul Brynner.
Even those of us who create them can't tell the original from the duplicate.
In Future World. If you can afford to go there, you're lucky. If you can't, you may be luckier than you think.
Future World was written by Mayo Simon and George Schneck, directed by Richard T. Heffron. It stars Peter Fonda, Blythe Danner, Arthur Hill, John P. Ryan, and Stuart Margolin. Running time 108 minutes. It was released July 14th, 1976 by, not MGM, but interestingly, American International Pictures, AIP. Richard, initial thoughts of Future World?
I think this movie's too long. It clocks in about an hour, 50 minutes. I think easily should have had 20 minutes or so shaved off. It needed a 90-minute running time. I think it didn't have enough plot for that. It is a very different film than Westworld. It's not as action-packed as Westworld is. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I liked it a heck of a lot more than you did. I agree. I'm not going to argue your points. I think a lot more unique science fiction ideas in this than West. I mean, Westworld was basically one, failure of technology. And it's some of those science fiction ideas that I really like. And probably the best example is, spoiler alert, this is more about, I wouldn't call it cloning, but making replicas of people. So at one point, Peter Fonda and Blythe Danner both have doppelgangers. And the two Peter Fondas, that's sort of the big action climax, is those two fighting each other. And the duplicate, they climb up on this tower, and the duplicate says, "Remember, we're afraid of heights." I thought that was a really cool moment. This isn't just a physical looking duplicate. This is an exact duplicate that knows your thoughts. And I have a little bit of a nostalgic attachment to this, not because of when I saw it, but the Clark, the engineer robot with the engineer's hat and no face.
Yeah.
He was on the cover of an issue of Famous Monsters of Filmland.
I remember that, yeah.
And I remember that, and I tie that to the movie, and of course the hype for that. So.
It is a natural progression, and it does kind of, explain some things. And I think A lot of the ideas actually in Futureworld are carried over into the Beyond Westworld TV series.
Same with HBO.
With the gunslinger, and this I was going to mention this earlier, and I just remembered it. There's conjecture about why the gunslinger appeared. Now, you're really going a deep dive implication, and it is certainly nothing that the original writers intended. But the idea that the gunslinger or the robot was becoming sentient and self-aware would go in line with the storyline, right? The robot's taking over. So what if the gunslinger's conscience was still in the computer system, and so when she's plugged in and begins dreaming, it's not so much from her, it's the gunslinger coming into her dream. That would make a lot more sense, but they don't say any of that in the movie, and it was not the intent from the writers, but it's people who have picked up and said, well, I think this is this, and I'm like, well, okay, this is a bit of fan fiction going on here, and it actually would explain why the gunslinger pops up out of nowhere, because he still exists.
It began with Westworld.
3, 2, 1, activate now.
A futuristic playground where people could act out their fantasies with robots so sophisticated it was impossible to tell them from humans. Your move. Suddenly, the robots changed, turned into the deadly servants of their creator, Simon Quaid, who took them beyond Westworld.
I have an impregnable army of loyal and unquestioning troops. I've placed robots all over the world.
He wants it all.
He has one heck of a good chance at getting it with those robots.
Delos, builders of Westworld, must stop Quaid. Assigned is Security Chief John Moore and Special Agent Pam Williams.
Let's face it, John, it's your wits against Quaid's machines.
In 1980, I believe it was CBS, did Beyond Westworld. It is basically ignores Futureworld, and it's a sequel to the original Westworld. It was a standard, episodic format that picked up on the idea that robots are taking over the world. The idea is that the character of Simon Quaid, played by actor James Wainwright, was one of the creators. He did not like that they were being used for entertainment, and he comes up with the scheme that they should be used to kind of take over because mankind is kind of not worthy, and envisioning that he's going to, he's a megalomaniac, he's going to take over the world essentially, and his robots are going to do it by replacing real life people, key figures, governors, and the like. Delos is aware that Simon Quaid has done this, but they don't know where he's at. They're trying to find him. The lead for the show is John Moore, played by actor Jim McCullen. He's basically in charge of trying to find Simon Quaid. It only lasted 5 episodes, and essentially each week Simon Quaid comes up with another mad plot, and by the end of the episode they have defeated the robot. I think it had premise. It was actually fun. Cheesy, sure, but still fun. A good follow-up to Westworld for what it was, a short-lived 1980 TV show.
Do you know where you are?
I'm in a dream.
That's right, Dolores. You're in a dream. Have you ever questioned the nature of your reality?
Welcome to Westworld. No orientation. No guidebook. All our hosts are here for you.
In this world, you can be whoever you want.
Are you real?
Well, if you can't tell, does it matter? Oh, no!
This behavior, we're miles beyond a glitch here.
What are your drives?
To meet my maker.
terrified. I feel spaces opening up inside of me. Like a building with rooms I've never explored. I think there may be something wrong with this world. Something hiding underneath. These violent delights have violent ends.
Well, I have been assigned the responsibility of talking about the new Westworld series, which launched on October 2nd, 2016 on HBO. And this is going to be the most pitiful explanation of all. Yes, I've watched every episode, but this is a show I have a very hard time understanding, knowing what's going on from 1 minute to the next, one season to the next. So it takes a lot of plot points from both movies, and it stars Anthony Hopkins in the first season and maybe part of the second. He does not last through the series, but we think he is the mastermind, the person who has developed the technology and set up the new Westworld. Ed Harris is in it. He's the comparable to the gunslinger. The thing about this show is it starts out kind of like the movie. There's people that come to the amusement park, but it's just what permeates the shows. You don't know who's real and who's not. And you later on learn that consciousness of people is transferred to other people. And their big thing is that they recreate the androids that die, looking the same, and put their consciousness back in. So a person can reappear later in other seasons, and it's just very, very confusing to me. There's a silver sphere that's inside their heads, and that's what they can physically remove and put into another body, to carry the consciousness. It's in season 4 right now. It just ended. One of the concepts I liked is that these are not so much like live events that are happening. They're sort of stories that have been pre-imagined or pre-written. So when they reset, they're always starting at the beginning. The train is always coming in the same way. There's always the same people crossing the street at the exact same time. And that later on, that becomes kind of funny because characters that are coming back and have revisited know when to stop because this person's going to walk in front of them because it's happened before. That's all I can do. It's very complex. It is hard science fiction, if anything is, with these concepts and the way that they're playing out. Well, Rich, we survived our vacation at Delos in the different worlds. Let's plot our exit strategy back into going home in the real world.
What is your name?
Gardner Lewis. Just got back from Westworld.
Tell us how you liked it, Mr. Lewis.
When you played cowboys and Indians as a kid, you'd point your fingers and go bang, bang, and the other kid would lie down and pretend dead. Well, Westworld is the same thing, only it's for real. I shot 6 people. Well, they weren't real people.
What Mr. Lewis means is he shot 6 robots, scientifically programmed to look, act, talk, and even bleed just like humans do. Now, isn't that right?
Well, they may have been robots. I mean, I think they were robots. I know they were robots.
Yes, the robots of Westworld are there to serve you and to give you the most unique vacation experience of your life. Thank you, sir.
We will go out with the song Futureworld by a group called Trans Am. It's from their 1999 album Futureworld, available on Apple Music.